Hello everyone, welcome to today's show. My name is Spencer Walsh. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Really appreciate it. On today's show, Micheal Cohen. How Micheal Cohen denied a job in the White House, was seen as its gatekeeper for many people who still happen to be very rich and wanted a little bit of a exclusive peek inside the White House. So, also, Trump violated the Iran nuclear deal. How it's going to blow back on the rest of the world, and some of the countries. I gotta give you the news. They're not very happy with this. Also, Democrats in New York County are refusing to pledge loyalty to the candidates just because the party endorses them. They're doing a little bit of a act of small rebellion here, which is fun to see play out. Just see real progressives stand up and say enough of the Democratic Party BS. So that'll be a lot of fun to get to that story a little bit later on. But first, we have to get to our vegetables. Government payoffs at the highest level. So that's the point I'm trying to make. Is every story today is going to be great. So you're going to want to stick with us. So after paying off a pornographic film actress and doing other tasks to help his boss win the presidency, Micheal Cohen was surprised to find the doors to the White House were mostly closed to him. Cohen did not land a hope for job in Trump's administration, as he imagined himself as chief of staff. Oh, yeah, sorry, bud. Yeah, that's not going to happen. He thought he was going to be chief of staff, Micheal Cohen did. He's in for a little bit of a disappointment on that front. So, Micheal Cohen, not quite, I should say. He served a long time as the Trump organization fixer. He handled all the problems. Didn't have too much of a clear portfolio. I had to imagine he would have been pretty triggered by not getting a job in the White House. So he did parlay it into something pretty good. He decided to turn it into a lucrative opportunity. So he was armed with the self-appointed title of personal attorney to the president. Cohen had served as a personal injury lawyer and owned a taxi business in the past, just like Pablo Escobar, by the way. Became seen as the man who could help others gain access to the seat of power that had been denied to him. Major corporations, including AT&T, Novartis, and the law firm Squire Patton Boggs, collectively paid him over $2 million for advice about navigating the suddenly foreign terrain about of Mr. Trump's Washington. So that's the new bombshell. There has been significant payments from these big corporations to Micheal Cohen. This guy supposedly on the outside, and he actually was on the outside, about how to navigate Washington in Donald Trump's time, which is very interesting. So most of the arrangements remained secret until Tuesday, when the details first appeared in an account released by Michael Avenatti, the lawyer for Stephanie Clifford, the actress who was paid $130,000 to keep quiet about her alleged affair with Trump and is now suing to be released from the agreement. New York Times confirmed many of Avenatti's disclosures through a review of financial records. So, they have been appeared to be true, which was a good thing. On Wednesday, additional details emerged. Novartis, which is a Swiss drug maker, has paid Micheal Cohen $1.2 million after he approached the company early last year, promising insights on Trump's views on healthcare. AT&T, who was a major corporate merger, as we know, with Time Warner, has paid him $600,000 for the advice on regulatory matters. I mean, you thought he was a dumb guy, but I mean, that honestly seems like a pretty savvy, smart business move. I wouldn't be expecting such a obviously dumb person like Micheal Cohen to make. So there is that to his credit there. So, but the reassuring thing here is that Robert Mueller has been way ahead of us on this. Both companies have disclosed they had been contacted last November by investigators for the special counsel, Robert Mueller III. Mueller's team questioned a Russian oligarch linked to another company, Columbus Nova, a New York-based investment firm that had paid Cohen $500,000 for a consulting services last year, according to financial records. The payments were among transactions totaling $4.4 million. That between October, so it's like almost $2.2 million a year here. So not bad for Micheal Cohen in terms of pulling in the dough here. From the same shell company that Cohen used to pay Clifford, better known as Stormy Daniels. So Cohen faced an investigation into his finances by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, which raided his home and offices, as we know, last month. It's not clear that what Cohen delivered for clients. One cut short his contract, while another paid him even after concluding that he could not provide the services he had promised. So there is not a lot. So he said that he could provide services deep inside the White House, but it turns out very, very clearly he was not able to do so because he had no access, or the president did not care about him and really did not want to give him two blinks. So, I mean, the president probably barely paid attention. It's probably some really pretty sad and cringeworthy scenes in their relationship that could be really played out in like a future movie, like Ben Stiller or whatever would be playing Micheal Cohen, and like Trump would be like, "Who's that? Who's that? Oh, it's Michael." Whatever. Yeah, it's probably been like degrading him many times. It's gonna be pretty sad. So yeah, Cohen's dealings were the focus of intense questioning at the White House briefing on Wednesday when Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the press secretary, was asked whether the lawyer's business transactions embarrassed Trump and asked whether they were contrary to his pledge to join the swamp. She fired back, I think that would be up to those individuals who make the decision to hire someone just the same way that the companies that you work for make the decision to determine whether or not they think you're qualified to serve in a position, which does not make a lot of sense. Some of the companies Cohen were executed. Some of the contracts with Cohen were executed at the same time when large companies, lobbying firms, were scrambling to adjust to life under Trump. They were nervous. Those poor little lobbyists, they were pretty sad. They didn't have a reliable friend like Barack Obama. I mean, I do like to see lobbyists in a panic, lobbyists in a tailspin, because nothing makes me more annoyed than lobbyists, except for probably what I gotta branch off here. I'm very sorry, but last night I was watching on the TV. There was a rare case of me actually watching cable news. So I was watching cable news, and on the TV, in between Fox News and MSNBC and CNN and all those other, like the real channels, there was One American News where this idiot Megyn Kelly wannabe was interviewing this idiot, like, Trump dude. And they were, like, talking about torture, and boy, it was the stupidest conversation I ever had. I almost had an aneurysm, literally yelling at the TV. Can I ask my family? They thought I was going to die, and that was really something. So, yeah, that's speaking of times where it made me angry. But yeah, lobbying problems do make me quite happy. So anyway, yeah, so the poor guys in K Street, they were pretty shook by Trump's election, and it really shook him like an earthquake, apparently, according to New York Times. He had pledged during his campaign to stamp out special interest influence, and it came into his office with few ties to establish Washington lobbying and consulting firms. So, I mean, they're both lobbying firms. So, yeah. This guy came to K Street they came to office with virtually no K Street constituency, which is virtually unheard of in the modern era, and so everybody was in a rush, to hire people with connections to him. So Ivan Adler, a partner of McCormick Group in Washington, who recruits lobbyists, said, so yeah, they were pretty much like, hire as fast as you can. We need somebody who can talk to this guy, maybe probably influence him in some sort of way, so he had not focus on doing the job the American people want him to do, but he needs to focus on the job we want him to. So, I mean, it's really quite incredible because, I mean, I know watching Veep doesn't give you that much of an experience in the political landscape. You don't really learn too much about it, but, I mean, honestly, this is pretty much almost exactly what I noticed here with Veep. I mean, when like Dan is in the lobbying business, it is such a fickle industry, and they need people who have been hired fresh off the toast by the White House. They need someone who's really put together, just to say the least. So, anyway, before entering a strategic alliance with Cohen in March last year, the firm broached the prospect of partnerships with others connected to Trump. Beginning in December 2016, Squire Patton Boggs talked with a lobbying firm started by former campaign officials of the Trump campaign, Barry Bennett and Kobe Lewandowski, and with David Bossie, who had served as Mr. Trump's deputy campaign manager, among others, according to people familiar with the discussions. Unlike Cohen, the three men have had extensive experience in politics and government, so they were a little bit more. They were a little bit more tied. They're a little bit more better, more reliable sources of what in the world was going on inside the Trump administration. But they did not end up working with the firm, and they declined to comment to the New York Times report. So people who worked with Squire Patton Boggs cautioned the firm against partnering with Cohen, particularly its confrontational style and deal-making could bring unwanted attention. According to those familiar with the conversations, they said the firm ignored the advice in hopes that Cohen would be a draw for prospective clients. So, yeah, that would be a pretty... They think they could probably advertise Micheal Cohen as someone who's deep inside the White House, which is pretty crazy that they had that idea there in the first place. So, yeah, I don't know about that. Cohen brought in five client opportunities in a year when his arrangement, so from March 2017 to March 2018, he literally brought in only 5 client opportunities. I don't know if that's good, but it sounds very, very bad. I don't know, that could be good, but it sounds awful. Jeez, Michael, come on, man. 5 client opportunities, that's pretty poor. But, yeah, then he was fired, according to an internal email. So, yeah, the firm did not respond to requests for comment, but the email, by its global managing partner, Frederick R. Nance, provided talking points intended to create distance between the firm and Cohen. It stated that neither our firm nor any of our clients is involved in the federal investigation of Cohen. So there is that. Novartis maybe trying to distance itself. So the firm, Squire Patton Boggs would be the firm starting in question, not Novartis. Don't want to mess up my firms here. The identities of the client bought in by Cohen were not specified, but one of them was a Florida company called U.S. Immigration Fund, LLC, which facilitates foreign investments, according to court filings first reported by the Wall Street Journal on Wednesday. U.S. Immigration Fund has helped work with the company of Jared Kushner's family to drum up investments, so Kushner companies there. So Cohen remained largely independent from the law firm during his long association with it, according to both internal email and court documents filed by prosecutors who are investigating Cohen. So, yeah, I mean, the point is, it's really something that we didn't know. It's not something that's very surprising to me. It's something that you're like, okay, well, he's going to happen. He was incredibly corrupt to begin with in that place. He was someone who was always violating something at one point or another, and he was... Yeah, and that's probably why Trump didn't want to hire him. He was the fixer. He was the outside man. He was the one who was not going to really get any position in the White House. But he was probably expected to serve Donald Trump for always and forever, which he probably was going to do, Micheal Cohen. And that's kind of the sad thing, that he's going to have to go down. So and Trump will be surviving and thriving just fine. So there is that. Anyway, so here is what we got for you today. It's time now to move on to the Iran deal. We still got to talk about that and some of the reverberations it's sent around the world. It's going to be very important to look into that for the future. So just so that we know what's happening and what's going on really here, and it's going to be very important. So yeah, on the subject of this whole Iran deal situation, it's going to be very interesting to see how this whole thing plays out down the road. So I mean, he's really finally done it. Donald Trump has, having spent the past 3 years denouncing the Iran deal as horrible, disastrous,